Vanchakaltarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. This is Leela Priya Radha Dasi from Dallas, welcoming all of you to Bhakti Sanga Conference call. And thank you for attending this session. Please pardon me for interrupting your ecstatic chanting. Moving on to the next stage of today's conference call, I would like to go through the 10 offenses to the holy name written by Srila Vyasdeva in Padma Puran. Number 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. Number 2. To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu. Number 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Number 4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance to the Vedic version. Number 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to an imagination. Number 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. Number 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. Number 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kand. Number 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Number 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success. Krishna Prem. So once again, welcome to today's call and thank you so much for joining us. But before we move on to our next session, which is Shrimad Bhagavatam class, I would let all the devotees on the call to please go ahead with your introductions now.
हरे कृष्ण लीला प्रिया रत्न माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम शिला प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रीतिदासी प्रशालो हरे कृष्ण
Preeti Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण
Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Arvind Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Leela Priya Radha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from College Station, Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Leela Priya Radha Mataji, Your Grace, Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Ram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Leela Priya Radha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. My humble obeisances to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. This is Sushmita from Canada.
Hare Krishna, Sushmita Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Do we have any more introductions before we start the class? Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sanga Conference call. We are extremely fortunate to have His Grace Jagannath Priya Prabhuji here with us today. And Prabhuji would be enlightening us by discussing Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, and verse 26 to 28. But before we dive into this nectarine class, I would request Parambhani Shyama Mataji to share a brief introduction about her today's speaker, His Grace Jagannath Priya Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Parambhani Mataji, then with pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are Mataji.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to glorify today's speaker, His Grace Jagannath Priya Prabhuji. A practicing monk, is a speaker on Vedic literature, including the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. He has a distinct focus on the practical application of religion and spirituality on both individual and social level. In academia, he obtained a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and holds dual masters in Sanskrit and yoga philosophy. He also is a research scholar in IIT Mumbai. Before embarking on his monastic journey, he served as the director of special effects for films and television. For the past 25 years, he has dedicated his life to the holistic development of the spiritual community in Mumbai and Thane. He is a board member of ISKCON Thane and is also associated with the Bhakti Center, New York. He acted in several congregations in different parts of the world as well. This was very brief interview. First today's speaker, over to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for introducing today's speaker.
Prabhuji has not joined yet. I'll call him.
Mataji, I think JP is that, Jagannath Priya Prabhu.
Yeah, I don't know, Mataji. Let me call him.
Yes, Hare Krishna, I have joined. Hari Bol.
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Jagannath Priya Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for giving us your valuable time and association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Without further ado, I would like to request you to please take over from here. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy and grateful to be associated with all of you this morning and for this opportunity to Shrimad Bhagavatam in some manner. So I think this is the first time I'm coming on this call, and Shama Gauri Mataji and Abhiram Saka Prabhu informed me about this 2 days ago. I've known them since more than 15 years, and therefore it was also a nice opportunity for me to assist them in this regard. Hare Krishna. So we are reading today from the 7th canto of the Shrimad Bhagavatam, 11th chapter entitled The Perfect Society, 4 Social Classes, text number 26 and 27. Yeah. So we'll read text number 28 because it has a purport, and then we'll also read the translation of text number 26 and 27.
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
can you sing the verse?
What?
Verse.
Yeah. So do you repeat, or how does it work?
They will repeat, but they will be on mute.
Okay. So I should just read the verse, right? Or read and repeat?
Or one person can repeat, Prabhuji. No problem.
No, I don't know. Whatever you are following, I'll just follow that. Whatever you do.
You can just read, Prabhuji.
Okay. सम्मार्जनोपल्पाभ्यं गृहमण्डनवर्तनैः स्वयं च मण्डिता नित्यं परिमृष्टा परिच्छदा कामैरुचवाच्यैः साधवी प्रश्रयेण दमेन च वाक्यैः सत्यैः प्रियैः प्रेम्णा काले काले भजेत पतिम्. Text number 27. Yeah. A chaste woman must dress nicely and decorate herself with golden ornaments for the pleasure of her husband. Always wearing clean and attractive garments, she should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids so that the entire house is always pure and clean. She should collect the household paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband. Being modest and truthful, controlling her senses and speaking in sweet words, a chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love, according to time and circumstances. So we'll read text 28. It has a purport. Santushtalolupadaksha dharmagnya priya satyavak apramata shuchi snigdha patim tva apatitam bhajet. A chaste woman should not be greedy, but satisfied in all circumstances. She must be very expert in handling household affairs and should be fully conversant with religious principles. She should speak pleasingly and truthfully and should be very careful and always clean and pure. Thus, a chaste woman should engage with affection in the service of a husband who is not fallen. Purport. According to the injunction of Yajnavalkya, an authority on religious principles, Ashuddhehe Sampratiksho hi mahapataka dushitaha. One is considered contaminated by the reactions of great sinful activities when one has not been purified according to the methods of the Dasha Vidha Samskar. In Bhagavad Gita, however, the Lord says, Namam dushkritino mudhaha prapadyante naradhamaha. Those miscreants who do not surrender unto me are the lowest of mankind. The word naradhama means non-devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Yei bhaje sei bada abhakta hina chara. Anyone who is a devotee is sinless. One who is not a devotee, however, is the most fallen and condemned. It is recommended, therefore, that a chaste wife not associate with a fallen husband. A fallen husband is one who is addicted to the four principles of sinful activity, namely illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Specifically, if one is not surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is understood to be contaminated. Thus, a chaste woman is advised not to agree to serve such a husband. It is not that a chaste woman should be like a slave while her husband is Naradhama, the lowest of men. Although the duties of a woman are different from those of a man, a chaste woman is not meant to serve a fallen husband. If her husband is fallen, it is recommended that she give up his association. Giving up the association of husband does not mean, however, that a woman should marry again and thus indulge in prostitution. If a chaste woman unfortunately marries a husband who is fallen, she should live separately from him. Similarly, a husband can separate himself from a woman who is not chaste according to the description of Shastra. The conclusion is that a husband should be a pure Vaishnava and that a woman should be a chaste wife with all symptoms described in this regard. Then both of them will be happy and make spiritual progress in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So, the chapter itself is entitled The Perfect Society, 4 social classes. So, first of all, we should understand that when the rules, regulations, law and order, etc. are given or made during the formation of the universe, or even for an ordinary society around us, the laws and other things are put in place so that there is some reference or a guideline on how to function. And those lawmakers also know very well that such an ideal state is almost impossible to achieve. So, like for example, when you read in the Bhagavad Gita about qualities of devotees, which is mentioned, cleanliness, austerity, forgiveness, and so on. So those qualities are mentioned, but it is almost impossible for everyone to perfectly have those qualities at any given point of time. There will be, even for the best of the devotees, there will be some fluctuation happening. One cannot be 100% peaceful, 100% without anger, 100% free from lust, 100% free from greed, 100% kind, 100% compassionate, 100% tolerant, never disturbed. So those things don't ideally happen. But then you cannot have a law book or a guideline which does not have a proper reference, and this is why it is extremely important that the references are created with some ideal standard in mind. So that's why I'm just trying to first begin to give a context that when devotees read the perfect society, they immediately may fall into either guilt that, oh my God, I am not a perfect Brahmana, I am not a perfect Kshatriya, I am not a perfect Shudra, I am not in Varnashram, I am most fallen, and so on. So that's not the intention behind this. Just like when you're driving on a highway, there is a speed limit of, let's say, 60 or 50 or 40. Now, when you see that speed limit, I'm sure that you cannot exactly follow that. 60 means it's 60. 60 means they give you, even the lawmakers have given that play or that freedom or that within 55 to 65 you should maintain your speed limit. But then they'll not put on the highway like it is 55-65. No, they put 60. And then some consideration is given so that the reference is maintained, yet the nuances or the imperfections are accommodated to certain degree. So one should, whenever you read scriptures and you come across these kind of things, one should understand that in the extreme ideal situations are very, very rare and very difficult actually, for that matter. Even if you read about even if you read and follow the lives of pure devotees like Kunti. Let's take examples from the Shrimad Bhagavatam. Pure devotee like Kunti. Her life full of imperfections. Scared, frustrated, sometimes doubting the Supreme Lord also, whether being protected or not. She also violated the rules and codes of the mantras which were given, and then she got a child called Karna, and then she, as a mother, she let go of the child. Those are all kind of offenses in a way. So, but she was a pure devotee, still made some mistakes. Bhishma, extremely well self-controlled and so many other things, but he served a very irreligious king that way. And he did some blunders, but he's also a Mahajan. Yudhishthir, we hear about how Yudhishthir hesitated to follow even Krishna's instructions during the battlefield. But yet, he is also considered Dharmaraj, Yamaraj, the expansion of Yamaraj, and also a pure devotee. Arjun, a pure devotee, but got bewildered by the death of his own son, by the death of his grandchildren, by the death of his guru, by the death of his relatives, and so on. So one must understand, first of all, when we read anything which is ideal society, perfect society, one should not immediately start superimposing that thought on the society and also on oneself. This is extremely important, because then one could actually become fanatic if one does not understand the whole purport and the mood in which these things are written. So that's something about this ideal perfect society, what I wanted to first mention. Now, coming to the point of the description of a chaste woman. In a way, this particular verse, the purport which we read today, is beautiful in that sense, because in modern times I have come across so many young college-going girls, also some girls devotees of children of devotees, who tell that, Prabhu, it seems that the scriptures are biased towards the males, and there is too much about females, and the entire burden and the rules, regulations, it seems that they only have to follow. There are not enough injunctions where men have to take the responsibility of their irresponsible behavior and so on. And I try to argue with them many times that that's not true. But however, because of the so-called pseudo-feminist movements which are there all over the world today, and the constant bombardment, so therefore even our own even people who are reading scriptures, they also get confused sometimes. And also we come across situations that there are men who themselves are not responsible, but they quote scriptures on how women should behave and so on. And therefore this imbalance creates a very difficult situation in the society. So in the light of such a situation, these many of the texts where the responsibilities of women is given is sometimes seen as a very sexist remark or so many other things like that. However, that's not the case. So here in this verb purports, this text 26, 27 and 28, what is being described is the basic role suited to the psychophysical nature of a woman. In earlier societies, the roles between men and women were quite divided, in the sense that men were expected to take care of dealing with the world, bringing the resources and so many other things. So consider that to be hard skills, where you debate, you negotiate, you fight for things, you deal with the animals in the fields and so on. So see, one should understand that the Industrial Revolution just happened in the later 1800s and so on. So the modern society today, which you see, which has corporations and computers and so on, this is just hardly 100 years old. Computers is quite recent, but even the industries is 100 years old, not more, 100 or 150 years old. So before that, what was the occupation people were engaged in? It was, you had a piece of land, you were doing agriculture, chopping off trees, breaking stones, mining something, and then boiling those metals and so on and segregating. So these were the basic roles in the society externally, and internally taking care of the house, cooking, feeding. These were the only roles. It is only in last 100 years that it has now become prominent that, oh, I am an IT engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm finance, I'm a chartered accountant, I'm this, I'm that, and so many different kind of occupations have come about. Earlier times, these many occupations were not there, and therefore these verses have to be seen in that context, that when those occupations were there, let's say even today, if all the industries go down and world has to survive, so everyone has to do agriculture. Everyone has to herd animals. They have to herd cattle, they have to take care of dogs and etc. etc. You have to domesticate animals for your farming and so many other things. You have to chop trees and so many other things, let's say. Now, when these are the roles to be done in the society, how many women will fit in the role of acquisition of land, tilling the land, taking care of the, getting into the trade fairs after the harvest and so on. So it's common sense that biologically males and females do not just simply have different bodies, they also have a nature associated with that body, with those bodies. As early as just a couple of months ago, although today there is an argument between men and women and boy and girl, they are all the same, they should be equally treated. Of course they should be equally treated, but they are not same. You can be different, but you can receive the same kind of justice and opportunity. That's a different subject, but you are not same. We don't need to equalize each other on all aspects. You are beautiful and unique in your own way. A man should know this, and you are beautiful and unique in your own way. A woman should also know this. It is in this exclusivity that we all thrive and survive, and it is in that accommodating spirit that we all come together and collaborate to form a better society. That's the basic idea behind all of this. So when let's say, again coming back to the point, let's say 100 years ago when these were the rules, what would then a woman do? She would engage herself in some soft skills, that taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, taking care of the kitchen. So the man would spend most of his time 6-8 hours outside dealing with the rain and the sun and argument with greedy people, lusty people, cheaters, and so on. Everything. You have all kinds of things when you are interacting with society, selling your product, and so many other things. And the woman would take care of the emotions and the tantrums of the family members and so on. And she would have that kind of a role. So one was doing the external keeping well, and one was doing the internal keeping or housekeeping, and the other one is procuring resources of the house. So in that scenario, then it is these kind of roles are explained, that a woman keeps the house neat and clean. These are very basic things. It's for if you have been a devotee since quite a while, you know these are basic things. Everyone likes to be living in a clean environment. Now nobody wants to be dirty, but these things are just mentioned that okay, you keep yourself neat and clean, keep your house fragrant. It's a common sense. See, those people who keep their house neat and tidy, they like to be in their house, and they also like to invite others in their house. Those people who do not keep their house in order, they do not want to invite others. This is my natural observation. Why? Because you do not have something to show. You feel embarrassed by your environment. Oh, if he comes and sees this, it will not look nice, and so on. So might as well, we'll meet outside always in the park or in the restaurant and so on, you know. So I have always seen this, that those who keep their house neat and clean and those who know to cook nicely, they like to invite devotees. Those who don't know to cook or lazy to cook or don't keep their house in order, ideally, even if they have an opportunity to invite, they will not invite because they don't want to be embarrassed themselves. So the whole idea is basically to keep the house in a manner that you can invite guests, worthy guests, you get to serve, you get to listen. So there is a sense of association, intimacy, everything that develops when one has these basic qualities in place. Today, one may say that, oh, I don't need these things. Yes, because today there are restaurants to host you. There are public parks made by governments. There are segregated zones that this is domestic zone and this is wildlife sanctuary and so on. But 100 years ago, just 200 years ago, this was not there. Every place was infested with some kind of wild animals. You would have fox. Even if you are not in a pure jungle like where there are lions and tigers, there would be jackals and fox and snakes. These were always there. Whether it was India or American society, European society, these things were always there. So today mankind has somehow neglected the natural biological progress and the differentiation between male and female, and they have created something called industry. So industry just requires skills. It does not require your womanhood to run an industry. It does not require a malehood or manhood to run a particular corporation. It just needs you to learn some accounts or some management skills or some engineering skills and so on. And therefore then there is no differentiation essential differentiation between man and woman. However, when you see the psychological aspects, there is a lot of differentiation. As I was saying, as early as a couple of months ago, I was just observing, even today, a young 8-month-old girl child or a 1-year-old girl child, she will naturally want to play more with soft toys and dolls and play kitchen and play taking care of a baby, and she wants to play a mother's role. And a boy naturally wants to play a father's role, a masculine role. How does that happen? Despite getting equal exposure in the same house, how does it happen? Even amongst twins. This is in the general observation. There can always be exclusives. That's a different subject matter. Now in New York especially, there is an even bigger issue. When you read such purports, then the queer community gets offended that, oh, this is all about male and female, and there is difference between, there is something called gender and there is something called sex. These are two different issues, and there is a whole ruckus created around this. There is also a documentary that Who is a Woman. So there is an onslaught happening on the feminine gender all over the world by these modern theories. And it is all springing up with this principle that women have been historically oppressed and so on. But this, whatever has happened in the history by exploitation of women class by a certain section of men, that does not override the natural ability of women, the natural inclination of women and natural roles of women, and that also does not override the natural inclinations and the abilities of men as well. So therefore, in this purport, what is very beautifully mentioned by Prabhupada, that mentioned about a woman, it is not that the responsibility only lies in the women, right? So therefore, this the last word, patim tu apatitam bhajet. So the husband, he should be worshipped, but what is the quality expected? He should be apatita. Patita means fallen, and apatit one means one who is not fallen, means the entire responsibility is not just of the woman. It is both the man and woman. As a family, they share this responsibility to uphold the religious principles. It is not that one has to be religious and it's okay because that's a woman's role. That's not the point. However, today that's not the case. There are so many devotees, so many husbands who have wives who don't cooperate in spiritual life, or not interested rather. And there are so many, similarly, there are many men who are not interested in spirituality compared to their wives, and so on. One cannot take this purport in a way that, okay, just because my husband is addicted to liquor and now I have become a devotee, so now I will divorce him. Or that my husband does not want to give up meat, but now I am a devotee, so I will just divorce him. And vice versa. Husband cannot think, oh, my wife is fallen because so and so. So modern times, as I said, we began with an ideal situation where traditionally men and women had fixed, separated, clearly separated roles. This situation is not today. We do not have separated roles. Both of them are engaged in similar occupations and both have to share similar responsibilities. So men also have to do cooking and cleaning, and women have to do, and it is fair enough. If women are bringing money in the house, then the men also have to share the kitchen. It's so simple, and the cleanliness. So if one is running a family in traditional roles, then it is okay. Then you take care of this, you take care of this. But now it's not the case. Also, there are couples who may both be kind of technically fallen according to the words of the purport, because it is the nature of the society in which it's the very design of the society where people are raised by breaking these four regulative principles. There is no taboo anymore. If you just have one girlfriend or one boyfriend for a long time, then that is considered some kind of a taboo. And if you have multiple relationships, people fancy that. So, and it's an unfortunate time. I remember this was in the year about 2006 or so. Those days I was preaching in one CA hostel. It was an elite hostel, and all the students one of the students, he said that, Prabhu, I am under tremendous pressure in my management classes.
Same to same. No.
Can someone mute So just because he did not have a girlfriend those days, it was so much pressure on him that people would mock him that, oh, he probably is See how times are changing. Because he did not have a girlfriend, people were mocking that probably he's a gay. Now 20 years later, 25 years later, no one will mock you like that. That okay, you don't have a girlfriend, you are a boyfriend, you are a same gender affiliations, no problem. It's not a taboo anymore. Before that, if you had a girlfriend, that was a taboo, or a boyfriend, it was a taboo. Oh, how can he engage in some kind of a relation with someone when he is not yet married, and so on. So times keep changing and things keep changing. That's one thing. Based on this change of time and situation, one has to see how one has to apply these principles properly. So the idea is basically, if both of them, just like today, grown up in an environment where no one is following regulative principles and anything at all for that matter, then they get married and they are convinced of their manners of life, and after some time one of them becomes a devotee and then realizes, oh, this is not the life I want to pursue anymore further, and I want to rather become a devotee as I hear and read in the scriptures and I associate with relatively pure people. I would like to follow that life. So in such a circumstances, they should not give up the association of each other unless and until one is very exploitative and consciously trying to destroy our spiritual life. One should not give up such association. In fact, one should hold on to the relationship and try to make it more worthwhile as much as possible. So understanding these things. Yes, if someone is already a devotee, then I know people, they don't, before they get married, they have some choice. They make choices. I want a boy or a girl or a partner who is following these 4 regulative principles and is inclined to spiritual life. But otherwise, it's not recommended that one just gives up the association. You should strive to make the association work, and we have also seen that in circumstances where the husband or the wife, they strive to make the relationship work, things change, and then you have better partners and better support for the rest of your life. So here in the last few lines, about 5-6 lines, when the purport is saying, if the husband is fallen, it is recommended that she give up his association. Then the other line, giving up the association of her husband does not mean, however, that woman should marry again and thus indulge in prostitution. So it is not that someone who marries again indulges in prostitution. That is not what Prabhupada is saying. But the tendency, you may have seen so many times in America, that every 1 or 2 years, some women, they marry, or men, they marry, and they give up the association of each other. Then they marry someone else, and like they have 6 wives and 6 husbands and so on. They just keep going on and on and on. So that clearly shows that there is no specific interest to run a family and take responsibility of grihasthashram, of raising good kids. It is just about money and sex, nothing else. So it's that sense. If in a certain circumstance a woman is young and she gets divorced by some reason, or the husband dies and so on, remarrying is not a problem. But the idea is basically not to be frivolous in nature. It is not about that if a person would remarry, that person is literally a prostitute. That's not the point. The point is basically not to become frivolous, that okay, if I don't get along with someone, just throw him off, pick someone else, trash him, pick someone else, trash him. And I have seen that these things don't work. As soon as a person crosses the 40 years of age, whether he's a man or a woman, that person has more emotional needs than physical needs. And that time you want someone who can be a partner in your life, a companion who can walk with you, navigate the journey of life. Those are the requirements of a person. But then you have no one because you have kept trashing people here and there based on your physical desires. So now who is going to be your companion? So it is important that we hold on to relationships, we try to negotiate, we do the due diligence and whatever austerity is required to keep things in order and keep the relationship together. However, if it is becoming extremely toxic and destructive and very abusive, then it is okay that one just walks away from it. But one should not walk away at the slightest or little bit of inconveniences. Life is not made that way. Relationships are not just created or made in heaven. It's a lie when they say marriages are made in heaven or something like that. That's a lie. Marriages are made here. There may be a destiny that these two people may come together and so by some karmic influence. But they may come together, but to live together, you have to make it happen. It does not automatically happen. You have to make it. The best of the couples undergo very challenging situations. Best of the relationships, rather. Why should we just put it into a male and female? Even two friends, if their relationship has lasted 10, 20, 30 years, they may have quarreled and been disappointed with each other for many times. It's not possible. Any relationship of any kind, if it has lasted quite long and has been satisfying and nourishing, it must have gone through so many ups and downs. So with this spirit, one has to understand. Both have to strive to make the relationship more better and meaningful. And once it is better and meaningful in the worldly sense, try to make it better and meaningful in the spiritual sense. Take it one step higher. And that's how Krishna consciousness is fostered very well. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. So beautiful class, and so much learning from this verse, that these verses, like particularly how you mentioned that the Vedic scriptures instruct about the ideal situation, but it also, like the Vedic practice also gives us some accommodating situation. And I love that point, and how you give the examples of pure devotees like Kunti, Bhishma Dev, and Arjuna had also some imperfections, and that kind of little bit of solace with lots of mistake in our devotional service. Sometimes we get frustrated with us that, oh, I'm not being able to wake up early in the morning at on some days, or not being able to do certain things that I supposed to do in some days. So sometimes we are taking so much stress that we get frustrated, but this gives some solace. And also you share that the social vision changes with time, but we need to contemplate and apply these Vedic principles in our life. So these are very inspiring. Dear devotees, I don't see any hand raised. If you have any question for our speaker today, please feel free to ask the question. And yes, Hemangi Gopeshwari Mataji, you can go ahead asking the question.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a beautiful class. My pranams to you. Just wanted to understand this line where Prabhupada is explaining that if a chaste woman unfortunately marries a husband who's fallen, she should live separately from him. So, like separately, what would that mean? Is divorce something which is permissible in our Vedic system?
So, See, as I said, there are two things. Let's try to understand this thing more from a practical point of view than just the theory. Because the books like Itihas and Puranas are written in a manner which accommodates many things, because ideals, the Vedas and the Upanishads and Samhitas, they give an idealistic profile of things, and then how that idealism gets violated and how it gets accommodated, that is explained in Puranas through stories of various kings and queens and itihasas, the histories like Ramayana and Mahabharata. So in that we get some idea of things. So first of all, in any relationship, one has to practically understand one's own nature as well. If one is so capable that one can survive and sustain and protect oneself so nicely, better being alone, then okay, then be alone, let's say. And that's, for that matter, it's also typically a life for anyone. Let's say someone who wants to just be a bachelor. There was an argument some time ago that why women cannot be some sannyasis and so on. They can be. It's not that women cannot be brahmacharinis or sannyasis. It may not be the general recommendation in the scriptures, but certain circumstances it is okay. Why? Because a general recommendation is done based on the general nature of a typical person. So males behave in a different way, females behave in a different way, swabhav and abilities and so on. So for women, ideally not staying away from the husband or always remaining under some male protection, why it is recommended in a general principle is because males as a general principle are a dominating factor, and when they see someone who is without a husband or without some care or support, they have a tendency, in a good way they have a tendency to protect, and in a bad way they have a tendency to exploit. So good in the males will want to protect out of sympathy those women who are compromised in some manner, and the bad of men, a bad of masculine gender, is when they see someone helpless, they may want to just exploit. So in a general situation, this ideal principle is women to remain in some kind of protection, and therefore unless and until some relationship is extremely abusive and not sustainable at all and not good for oneself at all in any way, then someone may divorce. It is fine in the modern situation. However, it should not happen that the divorce creates more problem than the already existing problematic situation. So that one has to be practical and smart in this regards. Whatever scriptures say, we try to follow to our best ability, but one must understand these things. That just because I don't like this person, okay, I give that person up. Okay, now what next? If the next situation is not clearly well defined, then, like, I know a situation where people have gone through very difficult relationships, and then they have sought a new relationship. I'll just give an example. A couple, when they don't get along with each other for certain reasons and they separate, when they get into a new relationships, they don't quarrel on the grounds on which the first relationship broke up. So sometimes I tell them, see, you are anyways not going to, you are going to let go of all these things in a new relationship, knowing that when you had a quarrel on this, you broke up. So you are going to accommodate all these things in the new relationship. So might as well then accommodate here. And what if the same situation still persists or it comes in a different way? Then how are you going to do? So in one such circumstance, my own friend, he had one divorce, and then after about 7-8 years, he had another divorce. Now he's in his third marriage, and he says, I have just left her alone. I don't want to indulge in anything. अच्छा उसको जो करना है करो. But now we have accommodated each other. We are just happy with each other. We don't bother each other so much. and he has become a very different person, but it took 3 marriages. So might as well you could have done that in the first marriage itself. Be a little bit accommodating, let go of something, don't become fanatic, don't insist on certain rules, regulations, or disciplines or expectations. It's fine. Sometimes relationships are disappointing to some degree in some aspects. It's fine. Unless it is extremely abusive, it's not worthy. It's not worth to just break up relationships. Instead, you have an opportunity in modern times. Women can fight it out. You can, if someone has an abusive husband, okay, do a police case, warn the husband, put a restraining order, see what happens. And then maybe that can change. If that doesn't still change, then someone can act. However, one should remember that it should not happen that I get away from a problematic situation and then I create a disaster. So that kind of practicalities must be thought about. That's one thing. What was the other thing you said about? Yeah, not staying together. Yeah, give up the husband or stay separate. So this can be done in many ways. So just recently, couple of months ago, there is one devotee who went through similar situation, that they feel very exploited in the relationship for since many years now. So the suggestion given to them was, okay, if you think that divorce will be an expensive affair and it will create a very wrong example on the kids, maybe negotiate with the husband that if you exploit me any further, I'm going to take it legal. So meanwhile, I need some separate space for myself. So they bought kind of a town home, and a couple of months they stayed that way, and then eventually in the same house they stay and live in separate rooms. But for all practical reasons, they come together for certain programs and events and so on. But in the house they stay a bit separately. So they do it that way. So there are people, I know someone in Rishikesh also, that they live in the same house, again similar thing, but they stay in separate rooms. Then it becomes like a guest house kind of a hotel kind of a thing, that each one has their own rooms and they come together for breakfast, lunch, and then they go back. And they have their own projects to do, their own things to do. So that's what they do. So those kind of things can be done. As I said, there's no point in discussing whether scriptures recommend, scriptures don't recommend. It's not exactly like that. Mandodari, who was Ravan's wife, although she had a husband who was clearly a useless fellow, and Ravan would enjoy with any woman and any demigod's wife and so many other things. He would kidnap people at will. Still, Mandodari did not give up on him. Scriptures glorify her for that she endured such a husband, and throughout she was devoted in spirit to Ravan, yet internally she was also devoted to Lord Ram. So those kind of things are there, but not everyone can do that, and it's not so practical to do that in modern times. So one does not need to think like that. Like, let's say how much time changed from Ramayana to Mahabharata. Draupadi had 5 husbands, a reverse way. She had 5 husbands, and she also chastised her husbands. She chastised Dhritarashtra for not taking, Yudhishthir for not taking enough action when she was humiliated in the assembly. She chastised Arjun. She said, what kind of, you are just like eunuchs who have just done all your body building and developing your shoulders and arms and lifting of the bow and arrow. All these skills are just for showcase. In practical life, you all these talents and skills, they are all useless. If you could not protect the dignity of your wife, what good you guys are? So, and she insulted the husband in front of the whole assembly. So just see how time shifted within these 2 generations. So talking of a chaste wife, a wife humiliating Bhima, Yudhishthir, and Arjun in front of the entire assembly of heroes. So imagine that you insult your own husband in some satsang program. There are hundreds of devotees and you insult him like a dog. Or even worse. Nobody insults a dog these days. They worship, so it's a wrong example. But that way. So times do change. We have to just understand these things in sense of nuances. Keep the whole principle in mind that okay, I should not act in a way that will become detrimental to my own progress. That's most important. I hope it gives some light on this.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. It was very practical and with example answer. Shri Ishopanishad Mataji, please can you please?
Right. Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
very much for the wonderful realizations in relationship to character and personality in women. I really appreciate that. And I hope that this is being recorded so young ladies can listen to your reaction and your practicality in relationship to getting along with the opposites or the opposites getting along with their, better halves. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. Very nice. Very, very appropriate.
Thank you.
Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Dear Mataji, thank you so much for your kind and beautiful words for our Prabhuji today. And so Prabhuji, I have a question with the kind of follow-up question what Hemangi Mataji has and you beautifully described. For example, in a situation if someone is for example, some situation is there where the woman or the woman or the person is destined to be still on. For example, if sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Now your voice is gone. I cannot hear you. I'm unable to hear you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, you're muted, Mataji. Please unmute yourself.
Oh yeah, you're on mute. Yes.
Talking. So, Prabhuji, if certain situation when the person is for example, the husband died or there is no son or anyone who can take care of the person, in that situation, what a woman should do, or in a situation where the woman is not married or even she grew old, so how what should in this situation we can follow the Vedic instruction or you can apply the things in our life?
So see, as I said, individual capacity matters a lot. So everyone has a different kind of a personality. I know people who are still alive in their 90s and they got widowed at 18 years of age. Means they were earlier days marriages used to happen a bit early. I would not say early, but that was an appropriate time those days. So it was considered appropriate. So she got married at about 16 and then got widowed at 18. But then she decided that she does not want to marry. And she's now about 93 or something, above 90. But her entire life, she was satisfied remaining in the house, and she had that kind of a personality that, okay, whatever has been destined to me as karma, I will accept it. I don't want to marry. Even that house accommodated her. In that sense, the husband's, the in-laws and all. So she has been part of that family her entire life without children. But then they had other brothers also. So the husband had other brothers. So because of them, she was part of some family as such, in a joint family. She survived, but she has been devotional her entire life, very devoted. She just served in the kitchen. She loved to nourish the family in some manner. And all those people who know, they know that since childhood she would just be doing her pujas and chanting and very devoted. So one has to be like that. If you are not like that, you cannot live alone. So in such a scenario, in modern times, let's accept this, that not many of us have this kind of superhero kind of abilities. So it is okay if someone is young and has desires and has needs which need some attention and fulfillment. There is no harm in getting married again. There's absolutely no harm. So if someone meets an unfortunate situation, there's no harm. So people get married at 40, 45 if they know that I cannot live alone at all, no problem. So okay. And at that age, people don't get married only for the need of physical pleasures. It's more about stability. Today's society does not offer that. Earlier days, whether it was Europe or America 200 years ago, a woman would be taken care by the brother or the husband or the husband's family or children and so on. Today people don't want children, then they don't have good husbands, and they don't like to serve the in-laws, they don't like to serve the parents and so on. It's such a messy affair. So even while they have good relationships, they are lonely. Means even if you have a good husband or good children, you are lonely because you know that no one will support you after 20 years. So that pressure is already there. So it's a messy situation to analyze this way, but ideally, if you feel that I'm not strong enough, it's always good to be in some support system, and in general it helps everyone. Ideally, people should raise a family. That's the most ideal situation. And if people have 2 or 3 children, then it's a game of probability at the end of the day. One of them will take care of you somehow at a certain stage. Otherwise, then people have found an alternative, old age homes. Many in ISKCON, they serve in their young age and then they become old and they feel that ISKCON cannot take care of them in old age. Then they blame ISKCON also and so on. So why put the entire burden of my life on an institution which was just supposed to help us in learning Bhagavatam and deity worship, and some Sangha and spiritual things? That's the main purpose of organization, to teach these principles. Then we take care of our own home. So that's our own responsibility. We have to see it practically how to do our responsibilities in the best. It's a game of probability, life at the end of the day. So
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Vadvi Mataji, do you have any question? Yeah.
Hare
Please.
Krishna. Sorry, Prabhuji. Yeah, I just want to say that it's a wonderful class, mainly for the women in old days and now with the change of the technology and how you explained. It is so nice, Prabhuji. I just want to give one more example. It is of my own grandmother. She got married at the age of 8 and husband died of malaria fever at the age of 12 or 13 only. They had just entered the teens. It's a very unfortunate in the early marriages in those days. And she married only aunt's son, so in the family only. So everyone thought that she has to marry again at that time. The child marriages are not that much, and remarriages are also not advisable. So she didn't even like to get married again. And after some more years, she went back to school. She did teacher training. She was a school teacher and she retired at the age of 60. And she adopted her own sister's son. That's my father. So she adopted one son from her siblings, and they don't have brothers also in the family, all 4 sisters. So it was very, very inspiring, her life story for me, because she was at the age of 94, 95 also. She used so much. Yeah, most of her students used to come visit in 60s and 70s also. Very inspiring life, and she is a role model for me also. So I wanted to become a teacher like her, and she was very inspiring, and never thought of marrying again, and never felt even like she is out of relation or out of some companion or anything like that. So it was, we don't find such kind of people, even just for the marriage of 4 years, very young, from 8 to 12, they don't know nothing about that, and she didn't even have a pregnancy or a kid. Still, her life, they say, like she is like a Tulasi, she is very pure and perfect, and she is always inspiring others. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah,
Yes.
I just remembered her while listening to your classes today.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for telling us this inspiring example. Hemangi Gopeshwari Mataji, do you have another question? Please go ahead with it.
Yes, Nataji, thank you for giving the opportunity. Sorry, I had to disconnect in the other time. Prabhuji, sorry if this is a ignorant question. I'm not very knowledgeable. But does ISKCON have any like devotee care homes or any initiative like that?
Not yet, but some initiatives are in an indirect, not in a formal manner, but in an indirect manner. Some centers are trying to create a community where they can be taken care of. So if you're staying in places where there are some devotees staying nearby, so at least people are taken care of that way a bit. But there is no formal, like an old age home kind of a thing being created yet.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Shobhanishad Mataji, can you please go ahead?
Jai Hare Krishna, in relationship to having a facility for seniors or older devotees. If I'm remembering correctly, most of the devotees in ISKCON are baby boomers. They're seniors. They're already in their 60s and 70s. And that's something that quite a few devotees have been speaking about, trying to facilitate homes or places for the older devotees to be able to live out the rest of their lives. So it's in the making, from my understanding.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Haribol.
So in GV, in Mayapur, in some places, some attempts are being made. So let's hope in next 10 years it has to come. If ISKCON has to grow, that aspect has to be in picture eventually. So
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for letting us know at least in Mayapur and Govardhanika villages that attempts are being made. Dear devotees, see something in the chat box. Hemangi Gopeshwari Mataji is saying thank you to you and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much.
Okay, dear devotees, if we don't have any question, dear Prabhuji, with your permission, can we end the call here?
Yes, please.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna Mataji.
Yes, ma.
Yeah. Yes. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very wonderful class, Prabhuji, and how nicely you explain the position of the woman in the society and how it was going from the ancient time to now, how it changed. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, and that gives so much hopes to women how they can handle the situation of this modern world, and they can stay in Krishna consciousness and grow the Krishna conscious family. Also, Prabhuji, I have heard about in Radheshyam Prabhu's class that they have, they are creating the Vanaprastha in NVCC Pune. So they actually stay nearby temple, and the women who are like, widows and their son is like a brahmachari or something. So she can stay there alone and go to the temple and join all the temple programs, and temple also provides the prasadam for them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and when they stay in the community, devotee community, they can help when they are get sick or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
very nice if we stay together with devotees. Devotees help, and no need of, worried about our future, what will happen. Krishna takes care of everything. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. And should we offer,
Yes.
start offering our prayers to
Vanchakalpatarubhescha kripa sindhubhaiva cha patinamalabhavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo Narayani Vaishnavvrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jagannath Priya Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Nityananda.
Radha.